The holiday tradition, a Birkwood Farm ham. It's the highlight of the meal, the centerpiece of the table. It's what brings families together. The Iowa tradition, from Iowa farmers. Birkwood Farms hams are gluten, MSG, allergen, and nitrate free. Buy yours now at the Birkwood Farm store on the south side of Ankeny or at betterpork.com. Order yours today. Your family's favorite holiday memory, a Birkwood Farm ham.
Murph and Andy, proudly presented by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. Live and on demand across Iowa everywhere. From the Channel Seed Studios. This is Murph and Andy. Murph and Andy. Connected by Cellular Advantage.
Let's do it. Welcome to Murph and Andy live on Iowa Everywhere. It is a Monday, and we follow Overthinking here on Iowa Everywhere with Kenzo and Scott. How did that go? I didn't get to see all of it.
I watched quite a bit of it, and I listened to most of the rest of it. I don't think I got quite to the end, but I had the headphones in. I listened. It was a good, fresh take. Kenzo is definitely a talent. Scott was not ready for the start of the show.
The first show?
Right off the top. Yeah, came out of the Shane Gillis commercial for Wells Fargo Arena, and Scott's like, we're on.
What was it, a bit? Or it's so hard to tell with him.
I don't see how it could be, right? I mean, it just shouldn't be, but it might be. Does that answer your question?
It absolutely
does. That's probably what you would have that's what you would have said if I asked you that question, but I mean, I was like, what? They've been practicing for weeks, and he wasn't ready for the start of the show. But, I mean, they got into it, and they had some good conversation. Your son, Cade, is producing that show, so it was fun to see his voice. It's hard for me with Cade because I know he's he's a grown man now. Well, yeah, he's got all that. I mean, he's a grown man, but I still see him as a little kid, right? And so when I hear people like, using cuss words around him and talking about boobs around him and stuff, I get a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But evidently that doesn't make Scott uncomfortable because it happened. So anyway, they got off rolling, and it's really nice to have Mackenzie's fresh perspective in the show. We know her as a very talented social media influencer. She does a lot on Instagram. She's very, very, very good at that. She's got a good voice, just a really good radio voice. She would have a good voiceover career if this were 50 years ago. But it was just kind of fun to hear them mentioning some topics, and she's bold but I don't know. Scott's got to get his shit together. I mean, what's new?
I think that's just the overall review of the show.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man.
In one sentence.
But again, it might be a bit. I don't know.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you with us here. And Andy, want to start out before we move on to some of the show staples with some good news as college football playoffs go to home stadiums for the first time. Looked ahead to South Bend, Indiana for Friday night's Indiana-Notre Dame game. 30 degrees and snowing the entire night. So this is what this first college football playoff game will look like, something like this photo here. And then the next day, as SMU, not a Midwestern team, as SMU comes to play at Penn State, 30 degrees and snow. So this is what you want, right?
Yeah.
This is so much better than neutral bowl sites.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we want as snow-hardened Midwesterners who don't bat an eyelash at that kind of stuff. Now, the Southerners are going to they're going to have a hissy fit over this kind of thing.
This is unfair. This isn't how football's meant to be played. It's meant to be played on fake grass inside with a roof overhead.
Yeah, that ain't level playing field. We got to go up there and play in that mess.
All right,
yeah, they're going to be upset. They're not going to be happy. There comes a point where there's too much snow, right? And it does just ruin the football. But this doesn't look like too much snow. It just looks like fun snow.
Let's snow globe it. Guest House Tavern and Oyster in West Des Moines sets the table for sports and more on Murph and Andy. Coming up today, Portal Insanity, Toaster Trophy, and Facebook Flea Market. That is all presented by the Guest House Tavern and Oyster, and glad to have some video to show you this cool place in West Des Moines that we're proud to have be part of the show. It just looks cozy.
Yeah, it does. They got a nice fireplace, a big fieldstone chimney there. It is a really cool place. But they also have some fantastic food, and they've got, get this, they've got Wisconsin Old Fashions on tap there. On tap. They don't even have to, they're not spinning it up for you in front. They got it already. There it is. That is an Old Fashioned on tap.
Well, we've lost AD for the rest of the year.
He can tolerate that. It's here in Iowa. It just has kind of it's not so much a Wisconsin theme. It's a Wisconsin, Minnesota, Northern Michigan theme. How about that?
That looks good. I'm a big charcuterie plate guy.
Pickle plate. Yeah.
I'm getting hungry here too. This looks
That's a deep fried walleye right there.
All right. Well, thank you, Guest House Tavern and Oyster. Stop in and look at it. Cozy place. Great for this time of year. Great for any time of the year as far as I'm concerned, but great for this time of the year. Right now, high or low since the last show.
Presented by Wealth Charter Retirement Planning and Tax.
I'll start. I was having a pretty good day so far. I was on the ball. I got a really good knot in this tie. That's why I went ahead and just wore it.
Is that my old tie?
No, this is mine. I do
had
have
one
some
like
of your
that
old
because
ties.
from time to time you come over to the sports office. I'm like, that's my old tie.
Yeah, well, you dumped You dumped a few of them. I was like, I'll take a few of those. It's hard to stay in fresh ties when we go through so many of them. But no, I just got a really good knot. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I don't usually wear a tie yet. I usually put it on until we get to work. But it was such a good knot. I just needed to keep it. But I was rolling along. But then I was taking the dogs for a walk through the yard, and then I got a situation. I got some poo shoes going on, so I had to stop and like rinse off the bottom of my shoe. And oh God, man, I hate that. It's just, you have to stop everything else. Can't go inside. No amount of scraping on the driveway is sufficient. You have to get a stick, clean it out of there, and then you gotta like wash the bottom of it and everything. It was just, it derailed the day.
This scarred you as a kid.
Oh yeah.
For those who are just joining us or new here to Murph and Andy. Andy's nickname was Pooh Shoes for a while after having those. Were they fake Adidas or actual Adidas?
I'm sure they were fake. They were not real. They had a very fine tread on the bottom, and they really were good looking. They were just bright white and so new. I think I had slept with them the night before, like put them on my pillow next to me, and I just loved them so much. And
not on your feet, but next to you.
No, like set them on the pillow and went to sleep. I was so happy, and then I was, so excited to get up and wear them to school the next day, and I ran right through the front yard. And it's awful.
There's no way to get it out. And the groove.
Kids called me.
It is a sad day in parenting when the kids figure out that Adidas don't have 4 stripes or 2 stripes, and that the Nike swoosh is not upside down, and you can't keep running those looks by them.
Those were the worst. The Nike upside down. Who made those? I mean, it was like Spalding or some cheap shit manufacturer. We're like, oh man, really? And then the 4 stripes. Who was that Kinney or Trax or somebody that made those? Total Kmart specials.
You could go into a Kmart or a Target and you get the latest Disney movie or something, and because each time you take a step, the heel lights up, the kid just thinks these $12 sneakers are the greatest thing. And they say, man, I think those might be fast. Have you tried them? Hang on. And just take off running and just think, oh, man, these sneakers make me extra fast. And it's just so excited. And then the day comes, it's like, no, I got to have custom Nikes.
Oh, no.
I got to have Dunks.
I'm still, Eddie doesn't care. All of his shoes are from the used store. He doesn't care at this point. I know that'll change. It'll change.
All right. I'm going high to coming back from San Diego Saturday, being on the airplane. Number one, having Wi-Fi that just comes on the Delta flight Everybody needs to do this. Thank you, Delta.
Delta's great.
Yeah, that should be the way it is. And then the other part is I got to sit there with the headphones in and just watch the Army-Navy game, which is just so cool. And Army comes in with the only loss being to Notre Dame. Navy's the underdog, but also having a really good season. In fact, these two in the history of the series had never combined for more wins than they went into this standalone game with on Saturday. Some of that's a long season, but mostly it's they're both having really good seasons. And just seeing all of that and hearing the familiar themes like this is the only football game where the guys playing in it are willing to die for the people watching it, you know, it kind of takes your breath away. Or at the end of the game, Gary Danielson says, these guys aren't worrying about planting a flag in the middle of the field. The only flag they're worried about planting is the United States of America flag wherever they land. You know, it's just so cool. And I loved every minute of it. Made the flight mostly fly by as much as it can when you have to connect. And then, Andy, I don't have to tell you, this is probably the biggest trending topic in Iowa this week. The Valdosta State Blazers back in the national championship game. So I don't know where we want to have the watch party for this, or if there's like a bidding war going on between some of the sponsors. I know demand is going to be high. We do have friends at Wells Fargo Arena. I don't know if that's too big, but a lot of discussion about the championship game coming up Saturday.
Yeah. That's the first I'd heard of it, but congratulations.
What? Okay. The Blazers going for that 5th national championship. And then congratulations to Joe Woodley and the Grandview Vikings. Another high here. They are going to their 3rd national championship game. This will be played in Durham, North Carolina. The Vikings are undefeated, and they're playing the defending champs from Florida. Is it Keister? Do I have that right?
There's a college called Keister?
No, that's your bud, isn't it? I'll kick you right in the Keister.
Right, yeah, Keister.
All right, the old Keister. I don't think I have that right. Somebody in the comments. Help me out. Keating? No. Oh, here it is. Keiser University. Keiser?
That sounds like an athletic powerhouse.
Well, they won the championship last year.
Jeez, yeah.
So get it done.
That is a loaded round of high or low, Murph.
I know, that's too much, wasn't it?
Very, very, I really am self-conscious of my poo shoes pick. But way to pick up Wealth Charter, though. I'm sure they appreciate that. By the way, go ahead, give them a call and set up your appointment for the new year so you can get all your finances set and make 2025 a good year for you and your finances.
I do have to sneak the Blazers, Valdosta State Blazers, in when it's not on a rundown or anything because we'll gloss right over it. I do have the self-realization that no one else cares, including my own family. Interact on YouTube. Email Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com, and on X, it's Murph_Andy. It is all powered by the Cellular Advantage, proudly presenting U.S. Cellular since 1993, 35 local locations. The Cellular Advantage kept me powered up the entire trip in San Diego, so appreciate the Cellular Advantage. Now, let's get the buzz here on a Monday.
The Buzz. Brought to you by Logier Heating and Cooling.
All right, thank you, Logier Heating and Cooling. The buzz today, the transfer portal spinning completely out of control. It opened December 9th, and that was the day after the college football selection show, which was the 8th. So it opened the 9th, and then it closes December 28th, right before the college football playoff quarterfinals, and then it doesn't open up again until April. And this is chaotic. You have players entering the transfer portal who are in the playoff and contributing. Penn State's backup quarterback, but he's a contributor because he's had 11 touchdowns combined passing and running this year. He wants to start somewhere, so he's got to go now. So he's in the transfer portal. Penn State's in the playoff. It's one of many examples why this has to be fixed. Not saying the players shouldn't be able to move, but they shouldn't be able to move while the season is still going.
Yeah, right. I mean, there needs to be a definitive ending point that like is just across the board. That's going to be hard to police because there are players who just they know they're leaving. They just haven't, gotten their landing spot set, or maybe they're prepping that landing spot. This is going to be hard to police, but they need to make an effort here because you're right. I mean, it's not fair to have teams still alive having to deal with this new aspect.
Marshall won its conference championship and has had to opt out of the Independence Bowl because more than 25 players have entered the portal because these schools at the level of Marshall are being used as a training ground for Power 4 teams, and then the players have the opportunity. It's open free agency, basically. They can move up. They can make more money. So they go. But here's Army ready to play the Independence Bowl, just got beaten by Navy, and for a while they didn't have an opponent in Shreveport, Louisiana, which in some ways is a punishment unto itself. Now, Army is going to play the local team. I think that's Louisiana Tech.
It is
5-7.
Yeah, 5-7
headed to a bowl.
And Marshall was a 10-win team.
Good team.
This team had a really good year. But this shouldn't surprise anybody. This is going to continue to happen. Frankly, I worry about all of the teams. Even teams that are alive in the college football playoff are running the risk of losing some important players, aren't they? I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't. I mean, those players know they're going to get a payday somewhere else, and that somewhere else wants them right away. I mean, there's nothing to stop them from doing that. And this is a mess.
Yeah, the portal has some real positives to it. I mean, I think there was a narrative, and I could see the argument that all of this is going to make the rich richer, the Alabamas richer, the Ohio States richer. But what we're actually seeing is there's no patience to be a backup and earn your spot after 2 or 3 years anymore. So the Alabamas and Georgias and Ohio State over time are actually going to have less depth. Yep. Like your Penn State quarterback, he found out the starter is going to return next year. He doesn't want to be a backup again. So even though he's contributed to a team that technically could still win the national championship, he entered the portal today. And that kind of thing is crazy. Got Marshall opting out against Army. That's happening. And hanging over all of this is there's not a logical quick fix because we're still tying all this to the school calendar. And these players have to enter the portal now or they can't be in their new school to start class in January. Mm-hmm. If they wait till April, they miss spring ball and have
they'll be behind in their studies.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll be. Yeah. Sorry, that shouldn't make me laugh out loud, but it did. Yeah, this is the studies, of course, student athletes.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're a fan of a team that's like Alabama, that's good and has a lot of resources and is, already talking about next year, you're far more interested in the transfer portal than a bowl game for your team, or maybe even the college football playoff that you've been left out of. I mean, seriously. So they are checked into this. I mean, they want to see what their team is going to add, what all they can do to add some quality players. So they don't have any problem with the way that this is going right now. I mean, you're just going to have a real conflict of interest kind of all across the board. It's going to be making, putting guardrails up around this thing really, really, really difficult because it's just going to be so hard to get everybody to agree on something.
When we saw Iowa play Troy earlier this season, we saw receiver Devontae Ross and said, oh, that guy will be in the portal if he has eligibility remaining because we didn't really know who he was before the game. 3 touchdowns against Iowa. Sure enough, he is in the portal now, and Hawkeye fans understandably have been like, go get this guy. But the challenge with Iowa right now is if you're trying to get anybody, they have to
the ball.
Yeah, they have to believe they're going to catch passes. Like if you're a receiver and Iowa State has already grabbed 2 out of the portal, you just saw the only team in the country with 2 1,000-yard receivers. So that looks like a spot to go to. If this Xavier Townsend, he opted out of his season at UCF right before Iowa State played UCF. He's one of those guys that shut it down so that he would have another year of eligibility. So he played right up to the point where if he kept playing, he couldn't have another additional year. He's now headed to Iowa State. They grabbed a couple of guys out of the portal. I think it's harder for Iowa to get someone out of the portal because other than the service academies, nobody's worse at passing the football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to have to be just money, right? I mean, money, and to try to find somebody that just has some affinity for Iowa or for Kirk Ferentz or one of his assistants. I mean, there's going to be some luck involved.
Yeah. Quickie poll. WCI Pools and Spas presents the Quickie poll. And today it is about the NIL and transfer portal. And we've taken temperature on this a few times. Let's see where it is now.
Which makes you like college football less? NIL, the transfer portal, or neither? They're fine with both. Yeah. I think I agree with this. I think I'm with transfer portal. That it just seems like that is going to, you get a little annoyed maybe at the NIL, but because of the way it's like not NIL, it's just paying players. Right. But the transfer portal can really interrupt your team's proceedings, right? I mean, it can make a giant headache for your team. Your team can also, get a lot from it, but our teams are not haves, right? I don't know if they're have-nots. They're just not fat cats. They're more likely to get cherry picked than do the cherry picking. So I feel like we're more likely to get the short end of this stick.
AD, what do you think on this NIL transfer portal or neither? You're fine with both. And I do understand there's some nuance to all of these choices.
Yeah, I'm kind of fine with both. Like, I don't love the way the sport has gone over the last few years. It's definitely different. I do think the transfer portal makes things really interesting. There's a lot more to talk about. These stories that we just brought up are interesting, and we haven't really been burned that badly in the transfer portal as Hawkeye and Cyclone fans. I mean, we've been burned a little bit as Hawkeye fans, I think, but for the most part, it hasn't been like a totally negative thing. I'm excited about, Auburn's quarterback coming, and I'm sure Cyclone fans are excited about these wide receivers, and so I think that adds something to it. Again, if I could undo all of this, I'd probably go back to college football the way it was 10 years ago. But because this is the way it is, I don't hate either of these things. They certainly don't make me like the sport less.
Yeah, seeing like Ariana Jackson from Roosevelt donate a bunch of books with her NIL to the 32 elementary schools or however many it is in the Des Moines area, and then go read to those kids. Like, there are a lot of good things with NIL. Andy, I know you've done a couple of stories at WHO 13 about the positives of NIL. In some cases, Caden Proctor comes to mind. The NIL it's not as intended. It's not the person signing autographs at a car opening, a car sale or something like that. It's more pay to play. But I think the NIL, even like hearing that Florida State's coach is restructuring his contract and some of that money's going to NIL, good. Coaches were making far too much of the money on the backs of players in the past. That should be distributed out more, even if it is kind of out of control. I'll go with the transfer portal here just because there have to be some rules put in place. I think it's good in many ways that people can transfer and maybe overlooked high school players who show they're at a higher level than previously thought can move and go play somewhere else. That's good. I think it makes it possible for an Indiana to jump up and compete at a level that no one expected. So I think there are some real portal benefits here, but you can't be getting in the transfer portal while your team's still playing. I mean, let's get some common sense into this too. There's got to be a way.
Yeah, well, and we used to say that about players opting out of bowl games. I mean, we really did say that. Your team's not done yet. You need to finish the job, and then somebody be like, well, but there's $20 million on the line with the NFL. Wouldn't you do the same thing? And then suddenly everybody's like, oh, okay. Well, you can say the same kind of thing here. It's less money, but some of these people, it's all the money they've ever heard of. I don't see a good plan, in place. It just seems like every idea that somebody comes up with for how to regulate this, how to keep things honest is full of holes, because money, right? I mean, for everything, because money.
Follow the money.
Yeah. And, it's just, it's a little depressing to get into.
Yeah, and there's not really any oversight either, as we've established many times.
Nanny.
Yeah. Additional hot topics. Colorado's Travis Hunter wins the Heisman Trophy. Boise State's Ashton Jeanty is a relatively close second. Then there is a huge drop-off. So this was a two-player race. They could have just brought two of them really to New York. It's been interesting. There is a no doubt Hunter backlash. And I saw it when I pointed out my vote. I had Hunter first, I had Jeanty second, I had Cam Scattaboo third. And there are people that are furious that Jeanty didn't win the Heisman Trophy. And you certainly can make a case. He's many players who rush for fewer yards won the Heisman Trophy. So you have two guys that had incredible seasons, and you can make a case for both of them. But Travis Hunter played receiver at a really high level, more than 1,000 yards receiving. He also played cornerback at a really high level. And that's a little bit like Shohei Ohtani in that it's so unique that when the award's going to the most outstanding college football player, I think you really can say he deserves it. And then I understand why somebody would think Jeanty, who also was good against Oregon, he didn't just stack up on inferior opponents, didn't just stack up yards. Andy, I don't know, but if I had to guess, I would say the underlying thing here is probably Deion Sanders.
Yeah, it is. It is. And, people, Deion fatigue, Colorado fatigue. I don't know that it goes much deeper than that. I mean, and, the fact that I think in Travis Hunter, you see a little of Deion as a player. Flashy, guy that was multi-purpose, multi-talented, many, many days. I mean, he just stood out as by far and away the best football player on the field. I think people, they don't like the Deion showboat aspect. They still don't feel like he's proven himself enough or whatever, but I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, I feel like if I'm picking a college football team, putting one together, I pick Travis Hunter first.
And some of this, if you didn't have the Deion factor, I feel like it would really be framed as a positive. Here's the number one recruit in America from Georgia, and everybody's expecting him to go to Florida State, and he picks Jackson State because he wants to go play for Deion. Goes and plays at Jackson State. Deion leaves and goes to Colorado. Any program in the country will take Travis Hunter, no question about it, but he wants to follow Deion to Colorado. So he does, and he's as good as advertised, and he's also a guy that I think is likable in interviews. He has never gotten in any kind of trouble. He doesn't party. He doesn't go to clubs. He says in interviews that he stays home and plays video games, and that's partly why he's able to play both ways. I think it probably is the Deion fatigue, but I have never had people angrier about one of my votes before. The Jeanty fans they're pissed. They're pissed.
They're passionate Boise State fans.
But apparently they found me. They found me and they let me know about it. So there is a Hunter backlash there. And then Hunter today is like defending his fiance, who's been just crushed on social media. AD, you might be more familiar with this than me. You're usually more up on social media. Do you know why people are so upset with her?
I don't know. I'll have to look into that.
Okay. The little bit I do know is that she was caught on camera as he's signing all these autographs and posing for photos, kind of complaining about how long it was taking when he was making time for his fans. So that led to a bunch of, backlash if she's with him for the bag, gold digger comments, stuff like that.
Maybe she was over counting cash on the side.
He said today that she's been in tears and she's upset about it. All of that, bunch of drama coming out of that. All right, it is time to ask the question. It's long, it might be overdue. It's time to ask the question: is a bowl championship trophy even worth having, worth winning, if it doesn't have a working toaster in it? This is the Pop-Tarts Bowl trophy. And Andy, does it have a working toaster? It does.
It appears to.
It does. It is.
Does it have a cord? Oh, those look toasty.
It might plug in. This trophy.
Well, then it's not a working toaster if it.
No. They sent some stats with it. It weighs 27 pounds. The base is 50 pounds, and then it has a 10-foot power cord in the base, so it does have to be plugged into a wall. This is not running on solar, even though this is in Orlando. And the toasting takes for what they call the perfect Pop-Tarts breakfast pastry, 90 seconds. 90 seconds.
Okay.
Pops right out.
Yep. There's a fine line.
Only bowl with a slogan, "Eat Me."
Yep.
You think it? Yeah.
And there have been some terrible bowl trophies. I mean, terrible. This is one that you want to display.
Here's how confusing bowl games have gotten. Like Mark Freund said last night as we were preparing for Sound Off, he's like, it'd be kind of cool, I think, to go to this because the whole Pop-Tarts bit, it's just fun. I think this would be a cool bowl game to go to. And I said, Mark, you've been to this bowl.
Yeah.
It was the Camping World Bowl, and I've been to this bowl. It was the Cheez-It Bowl. Now it's the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Yeah, so what? That's 5 minutes of entertainment there. And then you just go back to another ho-hum bowl game that nobody's excited about.
Well, they're going to lean totally into the mascot. The bowl MVP gets to pick which kind of Pop-Tart sacrifices his or her life so that the team that wins can eat. And by the way, anybody who follows this show closely knows that Andy has said he will cut off one of his fingers live on Murph and Andy if Miami quarterback Cam Ward plays in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And Cam Ward reiterated at the Heisman Trophy ceremony where he finished 4th that he is playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. So we could have a big spike.
I did not say I would cut off one of my fingers.
AD, fact check me on that.
Yeah, I think you did. I'll have to go back and grab it.
Well, I didn't mean it. If I said it, I definitely didn't mean it. There is no way he's going to play. I was just looking at a mock draft today. He's projected as the number 1 pick overall.
So you're saying he's not going to play?
He's not going to play.
Have you thought about which finger you would cut off?
I'm not cutting off a finger.
What are you cutting off?
Oh.
Bills and Lions combined for 1,000 yards and 90 points in an entertaining video game that lived up to the hype. The Bills win 48-42. Now, the part of this game that some people take away that just hand Josh Allen the MVP now. He'd probably already had it locked up. He definitely locked it up after his play yesterday. But I think the takeaway for most of us who would just like to see the Lions in a Super Bowl, if not winning a Super Bowl, is the injuries are stacking up. Defensively, the Lions had 15 players on injured reserve before yesterday's game, and 3 more defensive players got injured in the game. So that's 18 total, and clearly they couldn't stop anybody. I mean, the Bills scored 48 points, and then David Montgomery injured his knee. He's out indefinitely. So this is starting to look like the length of this season is going to catch up to the Lions.
Yeah, and you could just really see it in Dan Campbell's face in the postgame. I mean, he was just deflated. Not so much about the loss, but just the losing more players. I mean, 3 players who were done for the season, important players. His defensive line is just completely depleted. And at the same time, the Eagles are now looking like they are the best team in the NFC. So the Lions are in a tough spot here. It's amazing that they've continued to go on as long as they have without Aiden Hutchinson, their best player. But this just looks to me like this is a bridge too far. This is too much.
Would love to see him there. It'd be good for the game. It'd be good to see a rematch of this game. Let the Bills and Lions play again. That was pretty entertaining. And now here's Dana Carvey's famous Saturday Night Live audition.
There's a lady I know. If I didn't know her, she'd be the lady I didn't know. Cold as ice. Oh yeah. And my lady, she went downtown. She bought some broccoli. She brought it home. She's chopping broccoli. Chopping broccoli. Chopping broccoli. She chopping broccoli. She chopping broccoli. She chopping broccoli. She chopping broccoli.
I wonder what the divide is on the people like me who think the timing and the nonsensical songwriting of that, where he touches genius, and it's one of the most famous SNL auditions because they hire him on the spot right then and there after that, 90 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it was. But then I can also picture there are people like my wife, Jenny, who if she's watching right now, just watched that and went, what the hell is that? And why is it funny? But to me, that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as funny as when he does it. First of all, good job of getting around the copywriters on YouTube so that we can play that skit. Otherwise, we'd get flagged.
Well, now you just brought attention to it. Probably a big red flag coming.
Yeah, all right. I mean, we got it in. But it's much funnier, the actual skit that he does on Saturday Night Live. He's all dressed up, and Phil Hartman and Sigourney Weaver are watching, and it's really fun.
Tears flow.
I don't like watching those, though. I don't like watching the audition ones. It takes me out of that element. It's like, oh, they did this before? It always feels like, the one night they did it on Saturday Night Live was the first time they had done it, and they just hit it out of the park. And then you find out they've been doing it like for years. Remember,
right.
I watched the Chris Farley documentary, and it showed all of his time at Second City, and then even doing some improv thing in Madison, Wisconsin, where he was doing all of his Saturday Night Live characters, but it was like kind of rinky dink. It wasn't as nearly as polished. And I was like, oh man, he's been doing this stuff for years. And I watched Will Ferrell do Harry Carey on his audition where he's just wearing a terrible wig. And I was like, oh man, he did that for years too. So that always kind of takes me out of the element.
I get it, but it's also a reminder that to be that good at something, you probably had those reps that Malcolm Gladwell talks about.
For a while.
Yeah, just over and over and over again. Yeah, Will Ferrell's audition is also quite well known, but he's a cat. Everything. I don't even think he speaks. He's just like a cat that's playing with things, right. Mm-hmm. And then he does bring that character to it. But sometimes when I see something like that, like Dana Carvey with that chopping broccoli, it does remind me of our friend Chris Hassel, whose 40th birthday is today. Happy birthday, Chris. Chris sometimes gets right there where he's just touching a little bit of comic genius. I mean, I've seen it. You've been there a couple of times where I've been in awe of something you've done. Chris has done that. And then last week when I was in San Diego, I had this great back and forth with Gary Dolphin. We were exchanging Hassel videos as Dolph, because Dolph just one of the things we like about Dolph, he can laugh at himself, but like he thought that interview where he's talking to Steve Prohm. They're going
that
back
was
and forth.
all off the cuff too.
Off the cuff, and Prohm plays along, which is great.
Perfectly.
Yeah, it was just a really good. But anyway, happy birthday, Chris Hassel. Confluence is the official beer of Murph and Andy.
Beer's in a hot tub.
Yeah. Is it? Gee, well, Andy, you've probably had a Confluence beer in your WCI pool or spa. I guess it's a spa. It's not a pool.
Had some beer in the hot tub on Saturday night.
Whew.
Felt great on my back. I was by myself. Just sat down there. I kept thinking my whole family would come join me. No, they just let me sit there. But that was great, man. I didn't want to get out.
Yeah, I always worry about somebody who's drinking in a hot tub by him or herself. So I
was wearing a life preserver.
Okay, good. Let's get some more on a Monday.
But wait, there's more from Either Or Eatery and Patio.
Jeez,
yeah, you can get to Either Or and check out Tinsel. It is all dressed up for the holidays right now. It is a sight to behold outside and in. This is going to run through the end of the year. Either Or is known as Tinsel right now. Today is Chocolate Covered Anything Day. This is kind of the time of year where people are making Christmas candy, and they're dipping all kinds of stuff in chocolate. Well, we got oranges there.
I haven't tried orange slices dipped in chocolate. Now, the peanut, the pretzels dipped in chocolate that we see on the screen right now, fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty basic. Yeah, those work real well.
Yeah, that's pretty basic. But oranges, I don't know about that.
Oreos, like Oreo dipped in chocolate, like that's maybe a little overkill, but it's amazing. Love that.
You know
that
Oreo just released the triple dunks. Triple dunk. They have 3 different kinds of chocolate in them. I mean, just gonna try to end everybody this year.
It's like a filling.
Yeah, 3 different kinds of filling.
All right. The Iowa Wild has plans to install its 12th community rink in central Iowa. So this one is going to be over at the Scotch Ridge Nature Park in Carlisle. Similar ice rink opened in Marshalltown just last year. They've been doing these pretty much once a year.
It's one of the best things the Wild does. This is a great community thing to do, and it builds the sport.
It does, yeah. I think that's the first reason they got into it, but it's been a popular thing. Now, you need some winter to go along with that. You need a parks and recreation crew in these towns that is willing to keep it up and put new water on there pretty often and keep the ice fresh, but they're going to do that. And good for the Iowa Wild for doing that. Last night, the annual fucking cook-off.
Sorry?
Yes. I read the fucking cook-off. I had to read this on the news last night.
How'd you do?
I was real careful. Careful. They
got to put a nice pause there.
Long pause. I think I even paused and said pho. Yeah, pho, the Vietnamese soup, king cook-off. I was really, really careful. It's actually the second time this year they had a fucking cook-off. And it's so popular. First of all, people love pho. It's something that can be made a whole variety of different ways. You can kind of set up your own bowl of it the way that you want. It's kind of like chili. But it's also something that apparently draws a crowd. And it obviously lends itself to a funny nickname. The annual Iowa Asian Alliance sponsored cooking event came back to determine an all-new pho king. Dozens of pho stations were set up, as well as cash bars. There was also music and other kinds of food and games to go along with that too. Should we skip the?
I'm never going to grow up, Andy.
Should we skip the Facebook flea market today, Andrew? I sent you those pictures too late.
I got some pictures. We'll see how this goes.
All right. Oh, we got this one. Okay. So Murph wanted to do some browsing here on the Facebook flea market, and he found a muskrat coat that a guy in Pennsylvania made. The guy's name's like Fred Higgins or something. Apparently he's good with muskrats.
Also known as the captain.
Why did you like this?
The coat is made out of muskrat, and that makes anyone think of Captain and Tennille, and the Muskrat Love has to be the strangest song in the history of love songs to hit number one. Muskrat Love. This guy made a coat out of muskrats and put it on Facebook Marketplace. Who wants this?
I mean, I understand why, like the early pioneers made stuff out of muskrat fur where it's a matter of life and death. You got to do it.
You gotta stay warm.
But I mean, after a while, don't you start, eliminating some of the lower vermin from the fur trade, like muskrats? You're just like, you know what, man? I think let's go ahead and move on from muskrats. They're just not. People aren't buying them. We got a guy selling a bed frame. He says he wants $100 to $150 for it so he can get a tattoo.
This could be one of my kids. When you're desperate for money, you'll sell anything.
The bed frame the guy is selling, this is good job with the picture, Andrew, but the one that he uses is just like the plain bed frame that goes under the box spring. There's no headboard at all. It's just the frame. I think a lot of people throw those away.
Yeah, because it's such a pain to put it together.
Yeah, they're not worth anything. And then Murph found something that I didn't even know existed. I kind of wish they didn't. These are called Crocs toe charms. Apparently you stick these in the holes of the Crocs and make those shoes look even worse somehow.
I've seen like the charms, like my kids have like a Pokemon one or like a princess one, right? But I've never seen where it looks like toes are sticking out. This is gross.
It's gross, and from a distance, especially if they just put one on there,
it looks real.
It looks real. It looks like they have a toe that came, just a nasty toe that came up through the hole in the Croc. No one wants to see that.
Deformed toe that has to breathe through one of the portholes in the top of the rubber shoes. You mentioned it's our friend Chris Hassel's 40th birthday, and I could think of no better present to him than letting him know he shares a birthday with Jyoti Amji. She is the world's shortest woman. It's her birthday today, too. She's just over 2 feet tall. Despite rumors that she's married, she's apparently still single. Here she comes. On her way into a luxury hotel in London to meet, last month, Rumeysa Gelgi of Turkey, who at just over 7 feet tall is the world's tallest woman. They got those two together for a photo op, and there you go. The difference between the world's tallest and the world's shortest woman.
It's a little bit like the photo of Simone Biles and Shaq. Jeez, what a difference.
A little more extreme than that, but
the world's shortest woman is how old? Is she also 40 today?
She's 31.
31
years old. Yeah, she and Chris share a birthday. A viral TikTok video has ignited a discussion after a woman was seen standing in the aisle for an entire 7-hour flight.
What?
Yes. The guy that shared the clip wrote, "Lady stood on my flight for the entire 7-hour duration watching her movie," adding she did take her seat when the seatbelt light was on, but then would stand right back up once it went off. She was wrapped in a blanket, stood upright through the flight, even after the cabin lights dimmed. So he's just taking this video and kind of posting it. And, of course, there's a huge clapback online, as you're going to get from people. Well, maybe she's got a medical condition. Stop making fun of her. Quit calling her attention to her. Yeah, maybe. It's also just kind of interesting to see that somebody stood up for 7 hours.
It would be interesting to know, like, do you know, has anybody reached out to her and somehow found out why she stands for the entire flight?
Not that my half-assed internet research revealed, but...
you gotta get the MORE team on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Some people were like, she could have fibromyalgia, she could have back problems. I can understand that. We're standing. It seems like, man...
It's a long time.
A 7-hour flight where you stand the whole time. I mean, sitting the whole time on those flights is bad enough, but
it is.
Standing up the whole time is rough. All right, let's see if we can help Rhett on Facebook. He writes, about 6 months ago, my roommate finally got himself a girlfriend, and he seems genuinely happy. Over the weekend, I asked him what his plans were just in case he was thinking about moving out and living with her. Our lease is coming up, and I need to plan ahead. After all, he said, I need to plan ahead after all. He says he's going to stick around for another year, at least another year, and then added we would be seeing a lot more of his girlfriend too. To that, I suggested we add her name to the lease and make it cheaper for all of us. He laughed at that and said she lives with her parents for free, so paying rent isn't something she'd go for. That said, she is at our place 5 nights a week, eats our food, uses our toilet paper, and I think either she or he should be ponying up some cash. How can I bring this up without losing a roommate?
It sounds like you already brought it up and didn't take the hint. This might be find a new roommate time, because he sounds like he's dug in on this. He's not changing. And I think most of us have been there to some extent, right?
I think so. I was going to say that. I have been there. Andrew, you ever had a situation like this?
Absolutely.
And that, first of all, the guy probably isn't real interested in doing that either, right? Because then that kind of locks him in.
That's the thing. You're going to sign a year lease with like a relatively new girlfriend. Nah.
Yeah. Cade had this happen when he was in Arizona. And I remember he kept his sense of humor when he got so sick. And he was like, well, this should get me out of the lease. Because he wanted to get out. Like
was it a guy and his girlfriend who were always there together? Oh, God.
Yeah, every night. Like total, complete move-in.
At least when it's happened to me, the girl has had an apartment also, and so there's some back and forth, like you just don't see your roommate for like a week at a time.
Right, yeah, sometimes he goes and stays there.
Yeah, but if she's
and that
at
balance
her
can
parents,
kind of even itself out.
Yeah,
like, right, every other week I have the place to myself, whatever.
But if she's with her parents, she's going to be at this apartment all the time.
All the time.
Get out, man. Time to get out.
And until she needs to go do some laundry, then she goes back and sees her parents. Oof. This guy, get a new roommate, Rhett. Sorry, Rhett. It's the only answer. That's your more, everybody.
All right, thank you, Andy. Nice job. Berkwood Bullseye is back. You can email us at Murph_Andy. Boy, that bullseye is getting worn out at iowaeverywhere.com. That you'll have a chance to shoot for Berkwood Farms prizes when we broadcast live this Friday. Coming up, Northeast 14th Street in Des Moines. I know Jenny said she's going to come out there with me. I'm looking forward to stopping by there December 20th. That's Friday. Tell us how you'd use Berkwood Farms products to make your holidays better, and all contestants will go home with something nice. Everyone will take a shot. Everyone will win something. We only have room for one more winner, though. That'll be coming up Wednesday. Today's winner is Josh Waymeyer. And Josh just really wants some high-quality pork products for Christmas, and he wants to shoot the bullseye. We can make both of those things happen in one Friday.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun Friday. Hope all these guys, don't play if you don't want to show up.
Yeah, show up
and really do this, because this is going to be a fun opportunity on Friday out at Berkwood Farms. They're off of Northeast 14th Street, kind of right on the edge of Des Moines and Ankeny.
And the smells are good. All right, let's go to Throwdowns here.
Throwdowns. It's Throwdowns. Backed by Heartland Tire and Auto.
All right, let's throw it down, Murph. Iowa State set a bunch of historical marks this season. Best start, most wins, etc. What's the one moment you'll remember when looking back on this Cyclone football season?
It's the win at Iowa, because at halftime, I thought that game was over. I mean, like, no chance this is a competitive football game. Iowa dominated the first half and then played to not lose. And Iowa State, to its credit, just kept coming, managed the clock really well, got much better at the game of football in the second half, and found a way to win that rivalry game. And I remember we said on this show after the game. This is going to frame this, in part, will frame the two seasons, because Iowa State is in all likelihood going to go on to have a little better season than expected from this one win, and Iowa's probably going to go to have a little less of a season, and those things happen. Those things have happened. So, yeah, that's the one that jumps out to me. I still can't believe that happened.
I'll build on that a little bit and just say this this season to me was kind of the year of really exciting second half comebacks for Iowa State, where they were not playing well in the first half. They figured something out, and then they treated their fans to a truly exciting finish. Iowa, Baylor, Central Florida, those games, those were, and you could add a few on to the end of it as well, but particularly those three games, the one at Iowa that's here in Iowa, the other two, Baylor and UCF, were in front of, big crowds on really nice nights. There's been a lot of tailgating. Everybody left that stadium with just a huge smile on their face. This was a year of drama for Iowa State fans. They had fun.
Andy, Iowa had a disappointing season with a lot of ups and downs. What's the one moment you'll remember when looking back on this Hawkeye football season?
One moment is hard for me to pinpoint here. I think I hate going back to this well over and over again. I think it's still the Nebraska game. I mean, how they somehow keep raising the bar of ridiculousness and still winning this game, where they just it's almost like they get together and like, all right, guys, the Cornhusker fans are not going to go for these shenanigans again this year. I mean, we really have to find a way to make them think they're honestly going to win the game, or otherwise they're just not going to believe in it. They're just going to check out. They're going to know that somehow they're going to lose. Well, they did it again. I mean, they pulled the football away from Charlie Brown again this year. I still can't believe that game happened.
Same. This is kind of a mirror of the Iowa State game in reverse, in that this time it just looks like Iowa can't win this football game. What was it, 5 first downs in the entire game? 0 for 10 on third down. Can't move the ball. Nebraska is moving the ball. It's like we got to bring in Taylor Sheridan to write this finale. I don't know how we can make this believable. It's gotten so ridiculous over the years. Andy's right, and Iowa did it again. So, yeah, that I think is the standout moment. And in that win, there's that fantastic catch and run by Caleb Johnson. That's the play of the year.
All right, Murph, my family got a new tree topper this year. It's a Super Mario Power Star. What's up the top of your tree?
It's a big Santa. We have a couple trees. One does have a star on it, but the other has it's basically a Santa with a branch up his ass.
Well, we have our family. Well, as you know, Kahala's tree has that way too sexy angel at the top of the tree, or a little too sexy. She's not naked or anything, but the family
sexy angel.
Yeah, just a little. Yeah.
Can you send us a photo of this for Wednesday?
Yeah, I can do that.
Angel.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, right. we can check it out. We can decide as a group what we think. On the family tree, we have a star, and it clips on, and it plugs in, and it lights up. So it's kind of it's an extra star.
Murph, you're already being called out by your wife Jenny. It's not Santa on the top of your
snowman.
tree. It's a snowman.
The snowman has a branch up his ass. Can we agree on that, Jenny?
All right, let's throw down.
Yeah, I'm staying out of that.
Well, glad she's watching. See about the sexy angel. Find out about that. All right, Grimaldi's fan photos. Send your fan photos to Murph_Andy at IowaEverywhere.com. Fan photo. What do we have, AD?
Some people in Hilton. I guess I think both of the ones I pulled here are from Hilton Coliseum this past week.
All right, and then each Friday we pick one winner go to Grimaldi's at Prairie Trail in Ankeny or the West Des Moines location. Have some of that cold brick oven pizza or whatever else you want. And this has been really popular, and we appreciate the photos. And it's nice to see you in these photos. So keep them coming.
Yeah, and send us pictures if you do win. Send us pictures of if you having dinner at Grimaldi's. We
love
too.
that. Grimaldi's puts that on their social media feed. They like to see that too, and we just like to and put some pizza in the picture too. Can you? And just to think of the rest of us just a little bit.
Yeah, we had a pizza experience very unlike Grimaldi's. Clearly, if I get anything wrong, Jenny will just fact check me here live on the show. But it was called Zozo's. So
this is in San Diego.
In San Diego. So Bryce and Jenny and I, we go into Zozo's. It's 7:20 or so. Zozo's closes at 9. There's no one else in there, and we each order a slice. And the guy, puts the slice in the oven, cooks it, hands it to us, and we sit down at the table and we start to eat our slice. And the young man comes around and he says, "Hey, I need you to eat those outside. I've already mopped the floor and cleaned the tables." And outside, it's San Diego at night. It's like 45 or 50 degrees. And I just get up.
So what?
And
it doesn't matter what the temperature, the fact that they ask you to leave.
Yeah. So I go outside and Bryce and Jenny follow me out, but Jenny's temperature keeps going up because so Bryce goes back in and he says, we were told we had to eat this outside. I notice on the door, it says you close at 9 PM. It's not even 7:30 yet. So could we come back inside? He's like, "No, sorry. Sometimes if it's not busy, we just, we get the place clean and we maybe close down a little early." Keep in mind, we're not going to make any mess on this table. We didn't come in with a little league team and start.
But you get to make a
tables.
mess. You're a paying customer inside a restaurant.
Yeah. So Jenny, as her temperature goes up and we're driving around San Diego in the Uber, she calls. And they don't pick up the phone. So she leaves a message that I wish I could play. And we hear back from the owner of Zozo's right away. So the guy who's working there has already preemptively called the owner to say, "Hey, I made him, here's what I did. And this lady is really upset." So the Zozo's guy apologized, or, kind of soft apologizes, but it's not enough. So he does call back a second time and says all the right things and says he's talked to the guy. Won't happen again. Sorry you had that experience. But boy, it shows you too. And we talked about this. You're hiring usually, minimum wage help or something like that. And you're kind of at the mercy of that front-facing, crowd-facing front. Like, this guy just wants to go home.
Yeah.
So the owner wasn't even there. He didn't know. This guy called and did a confession of what he had done, and that customers were upset. No, it's not the worst thing in the world, but we also were thinking that's a tough business to be in, because you have somebody that makes a decision like this. You've soured people on their experience at Zozo's.
I think you could ask restaurant owners what the worst part of the business is, and a lot of them would say hiring staff and maintaining staff.
I'm sure it's hard.
Always been hard.
Yeah.
You're dealing with people that, are either young or, they don't give a shit. And then they, basically know they can just go from one job to the other. So it's not like they got a lot of future plans there, but we've been there. I worked at a restaurant. You want to close early, and then all of a sudden somebody comes in 10 minutes before you're going to close, and they want dinner, and that sucks. But look, I mean, you just got to roll with it.
You got to do it. It is time for the Andrew Downs audio drop of the day. We call it the AD Squared.
Yeah, it's powered by Game Day Men's Health. I go to the one up in Ankeny at Prairie Trail. You can also go to West Des Moines or North Liberty if you're on the eastern side of the state. Do something for yourself this Christmas. Get yourself a free consultation with Game Day Men's Health. See how they can help you out. Guys, the announcer jinx is real. There's just no other way to see it. We got another example on Friday night in one of California's high school state football championship games.
Game is his sophomore. And he's looking here. He's pumping. No interceptions on the season. And there, did he throw one? Did he get it? There it is. The first interception thrown this season.
Kid threw 40 touchdowns and 0 interceptions this season. As he's throwing the ball, the announcer
Jinxed
says,
him as he's throwing the ball.
No interceptions.
I think the ball might even be out of his hand.
No interceptions until right now. He just got an interception.
And that team lost by 3.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Gosh.
That is a great find right there.
Quickie poll results presented by WCI Pools and Spa.
Which makes you like college football less, really, between the NIL and transfer portal here. The transfer portal, your leader at 44%, 33% will go with NIL, and the rest say neither one. I get it. What is happening?
AD's just shuffling the cards.
I was just
making it hard on you.
Yeah.
I was reading somebody's question. What is happening?
That's going to do it for us. Thank you for being part of Murph and Andy. It's local sponsors supporting local media and local listeners and viewers. We appreciate it. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your Iowa Everywhere podcasts. And we are back Wednesday, and we hope you are too.